if you want to know what's involved in Cerakoting a complete rifle chassis, this is the video for you. And as a bonus, we're also going to talk about laser imaging over Cerakote. Gavin, you here from ultimatereloader.com. This was a really challenging project. I had a vision in my mind, and I'm really happy with the result. This is an XLR Envy Pro chassis. I did a complete Cerakote job on it. This thing used to be matte black. It was anodized black. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire process and also cover all of the work I had to do to figure out topographic line laser imaging over Cerakote from scratch. This was quite a project, but having this capability now has got me really excited about projects. And my journey started when I was in high school. I was dead set on wanting to learn automotive paint, and I did so. I got a job at a body shop. I worked through prepping, full paint jobs, and since then have really enjoyed precision spraying. And that's why I got really interested in Cerakote after starting to do my complete rifle builds. It's a natural extension and a great moneymaker if you are wanting to get into that industry. So I took the certified applicator training down in White City, Oregon at Cerakote headquarters. I've got a full video and article that you're going to want to check out covering that. I would highly recommend, if you really want to do Cerakote right, that you take this certified applicator training. You're learning how to apply a product that engineers have designed in the same facility. These people absolutely know how to do this right. I'm hoping to take the advanced training this year, and I'm hoping to film that as well, so look forward to that. Since then, I've built a complete Cerakote facility here at Ultimate Reloader. I've got another shop tour video that shows you all of the facility improvements that I did, the booth, the blasting area, everything. And really my strategy here was kind of a min-bar implementation of doing it right, but not spending a whole lot of money or taking a whole lot of space up. It's kind of like a great starter shop for really professional level work, but a facility that I would want to expand on in terms of square footage and some of the equipment if I took this full scale for the public, that kind of thing. And I've also been working on laser imaging over Cerakote, which is really powerful. It's very detailed, it's quick, it doesn't involve any masking, there's no multiple colors to apply in the booth with partial baking. It is a really, really powerful capability. And if you took a look at our Freedom Rifle build, the 1776 Bat build, which was a 7 PRC, and then a 338 Lapua Magnum, we did a flag on the magazine, we did the 1776 on the side, and that kind of got me hooked. I knew at that point I wanted to do this topographic laser imaging over the Cerakote, and that's what we've got here. Okay, so the Envy Pro, we've shown this in multiple stories. We've got kind of an overview video. We did a full weight kit video on it, and it's been a cameo in some of the other shooting stories that we've done. I really like this chassis. The C6 buttstock works great. It's got really quick, easy adjustability. You've got tension knobs and these dials where you can dial things up and down, length of pole and the cheek riser, that sort of thing. You can use different buttstocks that have the AR-15 threading on them for the buttstock interface. It's got an integrated bubble level. We've got adjustable height mag catch. This is one of the biggest features that I really like on this guy. And with the weights, we have a lot of versatility to adjust the balance of the rifle or to weight it down so that we don't feel the recoil as much, which is really critical if you're going to do something like NRL Hunter or PRS, where you want to retain your sight picture. You want to see that trace. You want to spot your impacts and spot your misses. And what you see here is a new incarnation of the 6GT build. Originally, I had this Bat TR action, and I had a polished stainless barrel. It was almost like a mirror. For this build, I thought it would be really cool to apply some H146 graphite black so that I could really emphasize the OD green chassis Cerakote work. So if you're interested in more information about the Envy Pro, check out those other stories that we've published previously. Okay, so this job started with disassembly, and most of the disassembly for the Envy Pro is straightforward. I took off all of the weights. I took off the integrated bubble level. I took off some of the accessories like the thumb shelf. I removed and disassembled the buttstock. The only real tricky thing there is there's some detent balls for the adjustment clickers, and those have to be sent all the way through with a punch and then removed from kind of the back side. Those do kind of little clicks when you reduce the tension on the tension knob there. So I was very careful about sending those through, grabbing them out with some pliers. I removed the wheels. There's multiple parts for those, but other than the detent assembly, it's actually really, really simple. And my goal was to emphasize some of these parts and to leave them uncoated. Like we've got the rods here for the length of pole and the cheek riser. I wanted to leave those black, for instance, and to leave the wheels black. And to have that kind of, tone on tone effect with the black over the OD green. I really like that effect. I could go with an OD green grip of some sort, like Hogue makes one, for instance, but I like the black with the green there. So the other area of disassembly that requires a little bit of attention is the adjustable height mag catch assembly. It just takes a little bit of work with a punch and an Allen key, and there's a couple parts in there. Really not that big of a deal. So I got everything completely disassembled, and I got all of the weights set aside, all of the parts of the chassis all laid out, and decided exactly what I wanted to coat and not to coat. Like this fore-end extension, I decided to coat that. I felt like that would be a good thing to go kind of along with the OD green main portion of the chassis. Okay, then there is blasting and masking, and this is where, again, you need a lot of attention to detail. My philosophy on Cerakote is a little bit different than some of the people that don't quite go the extra mile. I only apply Cerakote to parts and surfaces where I want the Cerakote, and I don't apply it anywhere else. Sometimes with tapped holes, you can go ahead and Cerakote those. I did that with these small tapped holes over here and some of the other ones. Not a really big deal, but I masked off the interior threads in the chassis that received the buttstock, for instance, and didn't coat those. The bore where the drum for the adjustable height mag catch goes, I plugged off, and so on and so forth. So after the disassembly, I did a pre-clean. I got some of the dirt off of it. I washed it with water and blew it off with compressed air, and then it went into the acetone dip. Let it sit for about a half an hour or so. If you've got some stubborn areas with some grease residue or anything like that, you might want to take a bristle brush and brush them in the acetone or right above the acetone with a coating of acetone on those parts. Then we prepare for blasting. And just like with the Cerakote, if I'm not going to coat it, I'm not going to blast it. Blasting is really important for etching, mechanical etching of the surface, so that you have an interface between the Cerakote itself and the part, and therefore you won't get a separation or peeling and that kind of thing. So the blasting is important. 100 grit aluminum oxide. I've got my blaster that is all set up, 90 psi. The parts and areas are masked that I'm not going to apply Cerakote to, so we go ahead and we blast. And it's really important to etch all of the surfaces completely. This was anodized, and so in some areas you're going to see the silver coming through. In some areas you're going to see the anodized taken to a further matte finish. And unlike if you've got previously Cerakoted parts, you don't need to take it all off. It's more about just making sure that everything is dulled out, everything is etched properly so that you get good adhesion with your Cerakote. Okay, so then we take it out of the blaster and we unmask, and in this case it was mostly just rubber plugs that had plugged in different areas so that I wouldn't blast those areas and wouldn't coat them. Then we blow off all the blasting media, the residual blasting media that's sticking to the surfaces, and I use my fan, my fume evacuation fan, to pull the blasting media kind of away from the area and use compressed air to get rid of all that. Then I clean the masking plugs really well and plug them back in. So this is the general sort of set of steps. You clean, you mask, you blast, then you unmask and clean, and then you remask. It's a lot of work to do this right, but if you have the proper tools and the proper plugs and the proper equipment, it's relatively straightforward. And as we look at our next barreled action jobs we're going to be looking at things like 3D printed mechanical masking fixtures and hanging fixtures so that we can selectively apply and selectively blast and potentially even use the low friction Cerakote micro slick for areas like the bolt body and things like that. Again, evolving our process each time we do one of these jobs. So at the end of this process of blasting and cleaning and masking, we hang the chassis basically ready to spray. I think I had this set aside in the racking area off to the side where we hang parts between coats. I also blasted all of the weights. Everything that you see here that's OD green was thoroughly blasted. Okay, so now it's time for the application of this Cerakote. What we've got here is H100 catalyst, is what you use for the H series coatings. We've got H236 OD green, which is the main color that you see, and then also that H146, which I used for the barrel separately. I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I've shown that multiple times, including with our 224 Valkyrie Boyd's stock upgrade. You're going to want to check out that video for an overview of spraying a barrel. Okay, so we shake the Cerakote for 20 minutes in our pneumatic shaker. It's really important to get complete mixing of the product before you go to mix it with catalyst and before you pour it into the gun. And when it came time to mixing with catalyst and adding the catalyst, I used the Cerakote app on my iPhone. Basically, you're going to pour in whatever amount you want. You're going to take that value, plug it into the Cerakote app. It'll hit calculate. It'll tell you based on which color and which ratio, I'm using 1:18 here, how much Cerakote catalyst you're going to need, the H100. You add the Cerakote, and then I did a stirring stick on this. You can also use a graduated cylinder and shake it in there to mix it. Turn it over and over and over and over. And then right on the bottle, it shows you that you need a 150 mesh strainer. The strainer fits right into the Iwata LPH 80 gun cup, and you pour the Cerakote over that. It's going to remove any dust, particulate matter, whatever. And then it's time to do your test pattern. So really, really important. On this gun, we're going to turn the fan out a turn. We're going to turn the fluid out a couple turns and then adjust the pressure down at the bottom. I can now hear what's going to be right in terms of air pressure coming out of the gun and then confirm that we've got the proper fan, we've got the proper pattern, the edges, the bleed off of the edges look proper. And we do that on basically a sheet of paper, like a giant pad of paper off on the side. And when we're satisfied, we can start with the first coat. A couple things that are really important about applying Cerakote. One is to use the correct alternating pattern. We've got the fan going this way. We're going to tilt the gun down and do one pass, tilt the gun up and do another pass, rotating the part 1/8 of a turn each time. And what this does is it ensures that both sides of each of the features and facets on the part are coated evenly. We have a certain amount of overlap. This is something that you're going to learn at the certified applicator training. So alternating down and up, turning 1/8 of a turn each time. And if we have a really wide section, we'll just hit it and then turn, that kind of thing. With the cylindrical object, we're turning between each pass. Really important to be able to see what you're laying down. So I added lights in my booth. I can see pretty much from all angles the reflection of light off of the surface we're applying Cerakote to. We're going to want to see it come up to a sheen and flow without a lot of orange peel, but not be put on so thick that we're going to get excess coating. It's one of these fine balance kinds of things. And with a complex part like a chassis, it's a little bit like spraying an AR lower. I actually start with a circular pattern with lower air pressure and get into some of the nooks and crannies, and then go ahead and do the regular pattern and application routine. And then between coats might do that again, depending on how things are looking. Again, we want to get Cerakote where we want it. We want to get to the right thickness, and we don't want to have too much. And so between coats, 5 minutes of flash, and I did 2 coats for this particular job. Kind of my standard routine now so that I don't get excess Cerakote buildup. After the second coat is applied, and I've run all of these parts separately through this process. Each weight is on a hanger. Each weight gets a complete coat of Cerakote. Takes a little while, but once you get into the groove, it's really not that bad. And it's just really important to have your racking system down to a repeatable process where you're not going to touch or brush up against any of the parts while the Cerakote is flashing, because then you'd need to dunk it in acetone and start over for that particular part. Things, again, that they're going to show you in the training. And so important to have those things on hand for when those things happen. This all went super smooth and really well. I was really happy with the experience in the booth. After the second coat, 15 minutes of flash time, and then it's time to put it in the oven. Now we're using a Light Armor LA 2500B, and we've coordinated with them a special discount. If you use the Oven 125 code, if you buy an oven with the circulating fan, $125 off. This is the best deal you're going to find on an affordable industrial grade Cerakote oven. Oven 125 code. Okay, so happy with that. I let everything cool down and I took the parts, wrapped carefully in a gun case, down to our gunsmithing shop, Precision Rifle Concepts, where I've got a fiber laser. Mine is a Chinese-made 50-watt fiber laser. All of the brands are pretty much the same thing. We engrave barrel details into stainless barrels all the time with it. This laser imaging over Cerakote thing is a whole new direction to take things. And where it starts is prepping the artwork. And what I did was I found some topographic line artwork on the internet, a free download. I downloaded it, imported it into Illustrator. I think it was an SVG. It's a vector file. Basically a bunch of different points that make up each line. And there's quite a few processes that you have to go through. I'm not an Adobe Illustrator expert, so I had to go through a little bit of wandering around and some frustration. But basically each line goes from a set of points with a value for a width to two different lines that completely outline each topographic shape. So it's a self-contained enclosed shape. And you export that as a vector file. I did an older version of Adobe Illustrator and then import it into your laser burning software. I'm using EasyCAD 2.0 in this particular case. So once you have that artwork prepared and it's scaled properly, line widths are properly, everything is stroked and outlined and flattened down, then it goes into the laser burn software by importing the vector file, and you can basically see what the shape is, and that's what I'm showing you here on the slide. At this point, all we've got is outlines. We want solid lines, so we need to hatch all of the artwork. And this basically is sometimes cross-hatching or sometimes a single angled set of lines that represents the path of the laser. The laser is going really fast, like 2,500 millimeters per second. That's like 2.5 meters in 1 second. It's really going really quick at a really low power level to discolor and burn the Cerakote to a different color. A lot of different shades. You got to do a lot of experimentation, different line widths, different speeds, different frequencies, different power settings. There's little grids that you can burn onto Cerakote test sheets, which is kind of what I did to arrive at this stuff. And once you've got it dialed in, it's time to go. Another thing I did to the topographic artwork was I took photos of the side of the chassis and I traced the profiles of, for instance, this depressed panel here on the side where the branding is. I wanted to have the topographical line work there on the weights and then on the recessed panels here on the fore-end weights as well. So what I had to do was basically crop down all of the lines based on that specific shape I'd traced on a photo and then scale it perfectly so it fit the panels. I used digital calipers for that. Quite a process, actually. And then it's time to actually do the burning. And before you burn, you want to light the path, which is basically a red non-burning laser will trace all of the artwork and show you where everything is, and you can move the chassis around until everything's lined up perfectly, and then commit. You hit the mark button in EasyCAD, and it goes through and it basically does the scan of the laser, burning the Cerakote. I've got a ventilation system, toxic fumes. You don't want to do this in your garage or you don't want to be in an area with the bathroom fan not adequate. Just like with Cerakote, you need some serious CFMs to get the air out of the room. And voila, I had done a bunch of test burns on my test panel, and I knew things were going to line up, and was really, really excited to see this artwork on the Cerakote. And You know, at this point, all the parts, I went through, I applied some Ultimate Reloader logos as well, which is fun to do. Took it all back up here and assembled it. Assembly is basically the reverse of, you know, disassembly. I got my mag catch parts back in, which is slightly tricky. Not bad at all, really. I'd taken photos, always a good idea. I got my detents back in, assembled the buttstock, put everything together. There's a little set screw that indexes the buttstock, keeps it from rotating. And then I saw the assembled rifle. Initially I had put the Valkyrie in here because it had a black barrel on it. Then I Cerakoted this barrel. And to see the finished product out in the sunlight, it's a fairly subtle effect. You kind of have to be up close to the rifle to really get the full effect of it, which I like. It's not overly loud, and I'm addicted to OD green. I just think, I just want to paint everything with OD green. It's so cool. So really rewarding to see the rifle come together, and this elevates it not just from a regular Cerakote job, but this rifle is essentially a piece of custom artwork, which is all the more satisfying. I mean, you could customize this with topographic lines that represent people's property they own. The sky's the limit with this stuff. All sorts of things. So expect to see more of these stories, you know, as the months go on. And you know, I'm just having a ton of fun. I've got a 50 BMG build I'm just about to start. We're going to do full custom Cerakote on an Accurate Rifle Systems chassis. That one I got in the white. So again, if you have feedback on this job, if you have ideas for me for the 50 BMG build, I might have done it already by the time you're watching this video. We'll see. Drop a comment and tell me what you think about this. Are you thinking about getting into the Cerakote business and or the laser engraving business? Drop a comment and share your feedback or your ideas about what you want to do. If you have questions, I would love to discuss all of those things with you, because I am, as you can probably tell, really excited about this. I can't wait for my next project. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you're interested in becoming a professional gunsmith, check out the Sonoran Desert Institute. They've got a degree program, they've got a certificate program, and you can study from home. Learn more at sdi.edu. Thanks again for watching.